This week, the HPT crowns our newest champion from the Club One Casino here in Fresno, California. The California Central Valley has a lot of poker talent, and it was on display this week here at Club One. As always, we started our final table with the Elite Nine from a very talented field, and now we continue the road to the championship with 5 players remaining. Last week on the HPT, we had to say goodbye to one of our favorites, Stan Jablonski. Making an impressive 4th final table here in Fresno, could not do better than 6th place. But he did outlast a gentleman who had only the win on his mind, Trait Nguyen. Trait took 2nd place last time we were here in Fresno, and unfortunately finished in 7th place this time. Among the players still battling for the championship are Daniel Evans and hometown favorite Soo Kim. Over $75,000 in the coveted HPT championship is waiting for one of these 5 talented players. Let's play some poker.
This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face, you with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game, talk trash all you want. To me it's all the same, you won't leave with much when you come in 2nd place. I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack. Gonna cry to your mama cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello and welcome to the HPT, where this week it's the conclusion of an amazing final table here at the Club One Casino in Fresno, California. I'm Fred Bevel, and to my left is poker professional Maria Ho.
This final table has seen it all. There's been some great plays, some questionable plays, some bluffs, and of course, there's nothing like the river card in Texas Hold'em. Through all of that action, the final 9 we started with is now down to 5 players. Among them is hometown favorite Soo Kim. Soo's chip stack has certainly had its swings throughout this final table, but her play continues to be steady. She's vying to become only the 4th female HPT champion in history, and if that happens, her rail supporters are going to tear this place apart. The way the cards are falling, this is still anybody's game to win, though. These players know each other's tendencies, and they're all capable of bluffing and making big calls. There are a lot of fireworks to be ignited as we play down to our next HPT champion. Well, let's take a quick look at the money yet to be won, the updated chip counts, and then get right to the action. We're starting to creep into that big money. You could see 5 players left. 5th place is $17,000 and change, all the way up to 1st place of $75,754. Here are the updated chip counts as we continue 5-handed. Jed Hoffman has a pretty commanding lead starting 5-handed play here. He has over 2.1 million. Daniel Evans, his closest competitor, with 1.6 million. Joe Wen is our shortest stack, down to 17 big blinds. Blinds are continuing at this final table at 15 and 30,000 with a 4,000 chip ante. Action will begin with William Chow. William Chow and Joe Wen, undoubtedly the 2 most aggressive players at this final table. William's going to fold. Soo Kim wakes up with pocket 9s. She makes it 80,000 to go. And this is Daniel Evans, and don't adjust your TV set. That is a onesie Daniel is wearing. I love it. Daniel calls with King 10 suited. Jed Hoffman is in the 9 seat. Jed had only played a couple of hands last time here on the HPT. He has been card dead. He's also been very selective with his starting choices. But now that we are shorthanded, I expect to see his range open up. And that's proof that it has. He's going to make a call with 4-3 suited. He's going to defend from the big blind here. 3-way to the flop. Flop is 7-8-3 rainbow. Jed hits bottom pair, but Soo Kim way ahead right now with her pocket 9s. Jed checks, so action now on Soo Kim. Sue's got to feel pretty good about following it up with a continuation bet with an overpair to the board. And Sue is going to bet $150,000, and Daniel here with just king high and a multi-way pot is going to release king 10. It's a good fold. Even though it looks like you have 2 overcards to the board, you know that Jed is behind you, and that kind of looks like a flop that could hit Jed's hand.
Jed, no question, has been the tightest player at this final table. So everyone's paying attention when Jed's in a hand as he calls Soo Kim's bet of $150,000.
The turn is the king of clubs, and Soo should still feel pretty good about her hand. It's kind of unlikely that Jed has a king here.
Jed is going to check over to Soo, and Soo is going to check back, and that might be the door that Jed was hoping to find. The river is a 5. Let's see if he's going to bet now that Soo checked back the turn.
If Jed bets here, he's just turning his hand into a bluff because he knows he has some showdown value if he could get Soo to check behind. But Soo's going to go for a really tiny value bet of $100,000 here.
What do you think about that bet, Maria? What would Soo do now if Jed raised her?
Exactly. I don't think I like that bet so much. I think she's opening it up to being check raised when she makes a bet of that size with a hand like that. But, you know, she's actually just going to get Jed to call her now. I think it's good if you know for sure that you're value betting, but if you aren't really sure where you're at, sometimes I think that opens you up to trouble.
More poker from the Club One Casino here in Fresno, California when the HPT returns. Thanks for coming back to the HPT from the heart of California's Central Valley. We're at the Club One Casino in Fresno. With Maria Ho, I'm Fred Bevel. Let's get right back to this final table.
And now it's Soo Kim's turn to enjoy being in the top spot with just under $2 million in chips. Jed Hoffman is still very comfortable with just under $1.5 million. And as you can see, everybody has some chips to play with, but when you're kind of getting down to the 21 big blinds of Joe, you're really looking to make a move soon.
Team Tsunami on their feet, rooting Soo Kim on as blinds are continuing at 20 and 40,000 with a 5,000 chip ante. Everyone on the HPT crew knows Soo Kim. I mentioned earlier she is an employee here of Club One. Last time we were here, Soo Kim challenged myself and another crew member to a drinking contest, and I learned firsthand that the woman can drink.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys have no shot against the Korean woman in that challenge.
She knows what she's doing around the bar, that's for sure. And at the poker table. She is staging a bet here.
Soo decides to just min raise it from the small blind with ace-9 suited. Daniel looks down at ace-8 of clubs. This is the kind of hand where I feel like Soo's not overly active by any means, and you do have position on her. I don't really see it as a hand that you should 3-bet. I see it as a hand that you just call in position with. But Daniel decides to take the more aggressive route. He re-raises to 205,000. And you know, Soo has a really great hand here for a blind versus blind situation, so you know she's probably not going to fold. And if she decides to get even more aggressive, what would Daniel do?
Well, Soo is going to make the call of Daniel's 3-bet here. So Soo Kim and Daniel getting ready to lock horns here. Heads up as we go to the flop.
The flop is ace, queen, 10, 2 hearts. So they both had flopped an ace, but Soo's kicker is better. That board is a little bit wet for both players. I think they're just going to proceed with caution.
We can see with the win percentages next to the player's name that both percentages total only 47%, meaning there's a 53% chance this will be a chop pot.
And it looks like Soo's going to use a move we've seen her do before, which is just lead into the pre-flop aggressor. And she bets 200,000. And Daniel saw her do that last time with a marginal hand. And so Daniel's just going to go all in here. He realizes that there's a lot of draws on this board. There's probably a lot of turn and rivers he doesn't want to see. So he's just going to put Soo all in. And I really hope that Soo's going to follow through with this and call, because you do have to realize when you lead into the pre-flop aggressor, your hand looks very weak. So Daniel could be doing this with a lot of hands that don't have her beat. He could be doing it with draws. So this is kind of the predicament you put yourself in, and I just hope she doesn't fold the winner.
$640,000 is the price for Soo to continue with this hand. And she cannot pull the trigger. She is going to lay down the best hand, and As we see often in No Limit Texas Hold'em, Maria, the aggressor wins the battle.
And I think because Sue played her hand the way she did, it made it kind of easy for Daniel to shove on her. I think Sue just missed out on a good opportunity.
You never know who's going to show up at an HPT event. This week, David Williams joined the HPT to try his luck out in this talented field.
How you doing, everybody? It's James Larson broadcasting from Fresno, California, here at the Club One Casino. Joining me, the one, the only, Mr. David Williams. You're back playing another HPT event. How are things going thus far?
It's going good. I got a lot of chips, playing well, like my table, so I'm excited for what the future may hold for me in this tournament.
Well, before I go, I want to ask you, what is it you like most about playing in the HPT events?
I think I like that the light attitude. It's not super serious. You don't have everybody staring you down, and everybody's not angry. It seems like everybody's just happy, having a good time. You knock people out, they shake your hand, they smile. People lose pots and laugh about it. It feels like poker used to be back in the golden age when it was just a fun game, and it's like really fun.
This is David Williams playing our HPT event here in beautiful Fresno, California.
Thank you, James. Action in this hand will start with Sue, and she's going to quickly fold. As does Daniel, and now Joe. So we're over to Jed Hoffman. Jed currently lives in Reno, Nevada, originally from Fairbanks, Alaska. He is enjoying his first HPT event here. Has about $350,000 in career winnings to his name.
And Jed with 4-3 offsuit is just going to call from the small blind. And I don't know if I love that so much. I think you could limp fold this hand for sure. But also with your image, maybe you should just try raising into the random hand of the big blind.
Flop is deuce, 6, king, rainbow. So William connects with top pair. Jed has a gut shot straight draw.
And you know, Jed's going to try to be aggressive now. And I just think he picked a bad time considering William did flop top pair.
Jed fires out 60,000. As William deliberates his options, and he chooses to call.
Jed's looking for a 5. There it is.
No waiting. Hello. Jed has turned the joint, the nut straight, and he's going to check it over to William, who's still sitting with top pair.
So Jed decides to bet when he wasn't there yet, and now that he's gotten there, he decides to check it over, which I think it's good to try to induce William to bet here. William could have been floating you, or you know, he could have had no real equity in his hand, so you want to give him a chance to bluff at it.
And William does do the bidding for him. It makes it 90,000 to go.
And Jed's not scared of any rivers here. As you can see, there's no flush draws possible, and I feel like if Jed check raises here, that's just going to signal so much strength to William because of Jed's image that William's hand might just go flying into the muck. So I don't like that he is going to raise here. I think he should just call and try to extract more value. I think he's very lucky that William does have top pair here because William might not fold that. But like I said, I mean, William knows how Jed's been playing, and I don't think he's going to take this check raise very lightly.
William is going to call the extra 150,000.
You can't really blame him because, like I said, you have top pair here in a blind versus blind situation. But, you know, if Jed bets anything substantial, I think he's going to get William to lay it down.
The river is the ace of clubs, and that just might be an action killer. Of course, Jed is going to go for value on the river. And Maria, you said it many times on the HPT, poker is really two streets of where you have a chance to get paid. Does the check raise on the turn kind of kill the action on the river?
I think when you have Jed's image, it does, because somebody who's fairly tight and playing their hand this way like Jed is, you've got to think that, you know, your pair of kings isn't good, although it is hard to lay down in this situation. I don't think he's going to get paid off on the river if he bets anything over half pot, really.
That is a big bet, 560,000.
I think it's hard for William to think that the ace improved Jed's hand any, so that's why he calls. But I mean, I don't know. I think William could have laid it down. I think Jed gave him every opportunity to.
William didn't spend a lot of time in the tank on that decision, and he is going to have to pay Jed off almost $1.9 million in that pot as we work our way down to a champion here at the Club One Casino in Fresno, California. Thanks for coming back to the HPT from the Club One Casino here in Fresno, California. Let's get right back to the action.
Jed Hoffman is back in the chip lead position now after that hand with 2.3 million. Daniel Evans and Soo Kim with similar stacks. And our short stacks are Joe and William.
Joe and William just with 20 and 15 big blinds respectively. Blinds are getting up there, so these guys will be looking for a good spot. 4 eliminations away from our newest HPT champion as William looks down at his cards, ace-10 offsuit, and he's going to go all in. Sue's going to fold, as does Daniel. So now the decision is on Joe.
And Joe decides to re-shove his stack in there with ace-king.
Good luck, Joe.
And that's definitely the play there with his 20 big blind stack.
So the 2 most aggressive players at this table are going to lock horns here in an all-in pot. William Chow is at risk, and he is dominated as Joe's ace-king has William's ace-10 just crushed. A little over 1.2 million in this pot right now, so big hand for either of these players.
And the flop is 3 ace 8 2 spades. Joe is still well ahead here.
William hoping to find some straight cards or a small miracle. The turn is the 9 of spades.
Well,
still no help to William. He's going to need the 10 and only the 10.
William's tournament life on the line. Here comes the river.
The river is the king of hearts, and William is going to be eliminated in 5th place.
William will be heading home with $17,360 for his great run this weekend as he shakes the hands of his competitors and wishes them luck.
Hey, it's been a brutal one. I know.
Well, the players here at Club One Casino are putting on a show. We got a lot of action left before we crown our newest champion. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the HPT.
It's been palm trees and sun all week long here in Fresno, California at the Club One Casino. 4 players remain at our HPT final table. Let's get back to the action.
With 4 players remaining, Joe Wen is our chip leader with 2.7 million. He's had a bit of a roller coaster of a final table. Jed is still steady with just under 2 million. Daniel Evans has just under 1.5 million, and Soo Kim is our short stack with 530,000.
We can see in the stack swing, Soo Kim lost just under $1 million in chips since we last checked in. On the other end of that spectrum, Joe Wen up just under 2 million since we last checked in. So, tale of 2 tapes there. Soo Kim looking to right the ship and get some momentum back.
Joe looks down at deuces. I'm sure Joe has no plans on folding it.
Joe likes to play, that's for sure. And when he's playing, he's usually raising, and that's what he does here. He makes it $125,000 to go.
Definitely now that he's in the chip lead position, I am a strong advocate for continuing the aggression. I'm all in.
Soo Kim has moved all of her stack in the middle with ace-10 offsuit, and action now folded back to Joe.
125.
$400,000 to call with pocket deuces. Maria, flip a coin. Does he call or not call?
I think he has to call here when he raises, and Sue's only got 11 big blinds. Joe's got a pair, even though it's only deuces. You have to kind of call. You're committed.
And that is what he does. Sue is going to turn over ace-10. Joe is going to show his pocket ducks, and you can look at the rail. It's pretty much dominated by Soo Kim fans. Team Tsunami on their feet, hoping she can get lucky and double up again at this final table and stay alive.
Flop is 8, 8, 5, 2 spades. So that's not a bad flop for Sue. Although she hasn't paired yet, if the turn is a 5, then she actually counterfeits Joe's pair, and the ace will play.
The turn is the 9 of diamonds, so again, no help for Sue. She'll be looking for an ace, a 10, a 9, or a 5 to suck out and double up.
The river is the ace diamonds, and she is going to double up again here at this final table. At this point in the game, you're really wanting to see eliminations. But, you know, Sue's got so many people cheering for her. I'm a big believer of, like, good vibes. I think they're kind of vibing her in right now.
The good vibes are something she's not short on at all, even though her stack is still fairly short, comparatively speaking.
I heard you.
She's having the time of her life right now, and that's what we like to see at an HPT final table as she peels back King 10 this time.
And she has a stack size that she could still raise fold off of, and I think I might take the spot if I were her. She has a little bit of momentum on her side, and because of her stack size, people aren't really going to be 3-betting her all that light because they don't want to be committed to having to call if she goes all in.
She raises it up to $125,000 with King 10, and it's Daniel Evans that's going to go all in with Ace 10, and right behind him, Joe wakes up with Pocket Jacks.
And you can't really blame Daniel for moving in 19 big blinds with Ace 10 there, and Joe unfortunately just wakes up with a huge hand, Pocket Jacks in the small blind, and he's going to isolate and move all in.
That's going to get Sue Kim out of the way, so Daniel going to the flop here with his tournament life on the line and only one live card in the ace.
Alrighty, well.
Over $2.1 million in this pot.
And now Daniel's going to stand up so we can see his onesie in all its glory here.
And we can see William Chow on the side of the rail holding a Let's Go Joe sign. So, William, if he can't win, he's rooting for Joe Wynn to win.
And the flop is deuce, 8, king, 2 hearts. And that's no help to Daniel. He's got one overcard with the ace.
Daniel giving us a full look at that suit and tie onesie as he stands up. He does pair here. He hit the 10, so he's got a little bit of life.
So now an ace or a 10 on the river will help Daniel double up here.
Daniel hoping to stay alive. It's not going to work out for him though. The 5 of diamonds falls on the river. And look at the crowd go wild for Joe as his stack is just going to blow up with over $2.1 million in that pot as Daniel shakes the hands of everybody and wishes them well.
Joe's going to increase his chip lead significantly with that pot.
And now let's check in with HPT 500. As you know, HPT events take place every week across the country, offering players a chance to compete for cash and a sponsorship deal for as little as $75. Not a lot of movement in the leaderboards this week across the country. Myron Gonzalez still holds the lead at Red Hawk Casino in Northern California, but Ainu Karu is right on his heels, just 5 points behind. Up north in Wisconsin at the Lake of the Tortoise Casino, Barbara Miller's consistency continues to hold her in the top spot. At the Belterra Casino Resort in Indiana, Jeff Armstrong remains at the top of the leaderboard. And at Wildwood Casino in Colorado, it's Don Crenshaw holding the lead, but Jeremy Ems is less than 100 points behind him. The players at the top of their leaderboards at the end of the season will compete in front of our cameras on national television. So stay tuned right here for updates each week, or take your shot at Poker Glory by visiting hpt500.com to find a location near you. We got a lot of action left before we crown our newest champion. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the HPT. Thanks for coming back to the HPT from the heart of California's Central Valley. We're at the Club 1 Casino in Fresno. With Maria Ho, I'm Fred Bevel. Let's get right back to this final table.
We're getting closer to a champion, and Joe Wen is in prime position to take this down. He has the chip lead with over 4.2 million. Jed and Sue both have over 1 million, but now that the blinds have gotten so big, they both have somewhat short stacks. Joe's definitely going to be in control.
Blinds are 30 and 60,000 with a 10,000 chip ante. As I stated a moment ago, a little more than $15,000 is the difference between third and second place.
All these players are going to be really happy with their payday, but of course, you want the title as well of being the newest HPT champion. Jed decides to just limp in here from the small blind, possibly trying to trap Sue here.
Well, Sue wakes up with a suited ace, which is a very playable hand.
No doubt she is going to raise, and Jed does decide to limp re-raise, and I like where Jed's head's at here, trying to trap Sue, but at the same time, you have to know that if you limp in and then re-raise when you have a tight image, that you might actually get a lot of respect and get worse hands to fold, and that's not what you want. Obviously, you trap somebody because you're hoping that they'll call you with a worse hand, but like I said, Jed's table image is such that he's probably going to get a lot of respect.
Sue Kim deliberating whether or not Ace-7 is worth her tournament life. And against a player like Jed, you gotta think no. Might be different if it was Joe Wynn in the hand.
And she does fold, and this is just what I'm saying. I think Jed should have just raised there coming in, because that disguises the strength of his hand a little bit more than he did what he did, which was limp re-raise. And that's the reason why I stress so much that you play your image.
$30,000 and $60,000 with a $10,000 chip ante is the price of poker right now, as we continue three-handed on our way to a championship here at the Club One Casino in Fresno. Joe Wynn is going to fold over to Jed Hoffman.
And Jed is in the small blind against Sue's 8 big blinds in the big blind, so I imagine he's just going to move all in here, effectively putting her in. King 8's more than a good enough hand to do that with here. And Sue looks down at Queen 10 of Hearts, and that's definitely a good enough hand for her to call off with. And now they're just basically flipping, essentially.
All right, at risk in the hand.
So here we go again. Sue Kim's rail on their feet. They've adopted the name Team Tsunami, which I think is awesome. And they are rooting for a queen or a 10 on this board. The flop is 7 deuce king, and not a good flop for Sue Kim as Jed connects top pair here.
Sue's going to need running straight or flush outs in order to double up again, but as we've seen, she's been in this situation a lot, and she's done quite well for herself in an all-in situation.
The turn is the Queen of Spades, so Sue hits her pair of queens, but it's not enough yet. She needs to find another queen or a 10 on the river. Otherwise, she will be our third place finisher. Here comes the river for Sue Kim's tournament life. It is the Queen of Clubs. She's done it again.
And sometimes you just have the luck on your side, especially when you need it the most. She's going to double up again at this final table.
As the players take a quick break, so will we with a Poker Life featuring Doyle Brunson, brought to us by our friends at Ace Play Poker. Now, Maria, you and I know the game of poker as going to a nice shiny casino. You play the game. When you're done, you take your chips to the cage, and then you go home and you have a lovely evening. Well, back in the day, Doyle didn't have it so easy. Here's Doyle telling us a story about how he was once robbed at knife point.
Well, I'd been robbed, I guess, at gunpoint 5 times. And I was in Houston, and I came down from this poker game and just came out the door, and this guy came up behind me and put a knife to my throat. And it just scared the daylights out of me. And of course, I faced the guns, and I wasn't that afraid. You know, I mean, concerned, but not really a lot of fear. But this time, I mean, it just scared the heck out of me. And he said, "Now don't move, I'm gonna cut your throat." He said, "I'm just gonna empty you out." He put his hand in my pocket and took my money and turned and ran. And I didn't bother chasing him. I couldn't have caught him with my old bad leg anyway. But it's something about a knife is scarier than a gun, I guess, because the fact, I guess you think if they shoot you, they're going to kill you, and that'll be it. But, you know, if a knife, they cut you, you know, they might mess you up for a long time. I don't know. But I know it did scare me, the heck out of me. About probably the most scared I ever was.
Thank you very much, Texas Dolly. That story makes us appreciate the casino environment a little bit more. We are continuing our way to a champion here on the HPT at the Club One Casino. We'll be right back. Thanks for coming back to the HPT with Maria Ho. I'm Fred Bevel, and we are in the middle of a dogfight. Let's get right back to this final table.
Still three-handed. Joe Wen still in commanding chip position with 4.6 million. Jed and Sue are now evening up after Jed doubled up Sue the last hand. They've both got about 20 big blinds.
Sue Kim's tournament life has been at risk a few times at this final table. Obviously, she's come out ahead all 3 times, but she's needed a little help from the cards to do it. Sue's going to fold a bad queen here from the button. Now we're over to Joe. Joe has had a bit of a swingy time at this final table, but right now definitely on the uptick as he's the dominating chip leader. Interesting, the hand that Sue Kim just folded is a hand that Joe just limped in with, and Jed is going to check his big blind option with the worst hand in poker, 7 deuce.
And the flop is 4 deuce 10. So both Joe and Jed have connected. Joe with middle pair, Jed with bottom pair, and it's going to go check here.
So on to the turn we go.
The turn is the 7, and now Jed has turned the worst starting hand in poker into 2 pair here, and Joe decides that now he wants to bet his middle pair.
We've seen Joe check through the flop a lot at this final table, only to fire on the turn. That's been a good recipe for him so far, but this time he's running into a bit of a buzzsaw.
And Jed decides he's just going to slow play his 2 pair.
The river is the 8 of hearts, no improvement for anybody. Jed's got the best of it.
And I think now, because of this run out, Jed's probably just going to call the bet here. There's no real value in raising. And I think Joe knew when he bet the river and Jed called so quickly that a pair of 4s is probably not going to win the pot.
So not a big pot, comparatively speaking, to the action we've seen in the last few hands here. 450,000 in that pot. Jed gets a very polite round of applause from everybody for scooping it. Blinds are going up. They're now 40 and 80,000 with a 10,000 chip ante. And it will be Joe Win under the gun this hand.
And honestly, I feel like Joe could pretty much open 90% of the buttons here. You've got Sue, who's only got 9 big blinds. It's not really going to hurt your stack if you have to raise and call off her all in. And Jed is playing very, very tight. So you have pretty much free reign right now to do a lot and kind of abuse the fact that you are the chip leader in this situation.
Joe raises it to 200,000 with King 4, and now Sue Kim looks down at King 7.
And Sue knows she doesn't really have any fold equity here, so she's just deciding what she wants to do. Is King 7 good enough to go all in here with? I think that's the debate that's going on in her head.
I'm all in.
And she does choose to get him in the middle. So she shoves her whole stack. It's another 470,000 for Joe to call.
And Joe's going to have to call here with King 4. I mean, he's getting 2 to 1. He doesn't know he's dominated.
Well, Joe a little slow to make this call that a lot of players would have snapped off, but he is eventually going to do it. So again, Sue Kim's tournament life at risk, but this time she's going to the flop ahead as her rail of supporters immediately jump to their feet and start waving the signs. So Maria Sue Kim has gotten lucky from behind to double up. Let's see if she can have the best hand hold up here to double up. If she can, it'll be a little more than 1.4 million in chips.
And the flop is deuce 3-7, 2 hearts, so that's pretty good for Sue. Because she's paired her 7 here, Joe's going to need running outs to eliminate her.
The turn is the 10 of hearts, and that's a good card if you're sweating Joe right now. He has turned a flush draw.
That's giving Joe a lot more outs.
The river is the ace of clubs, not what Joe needed to find. And again, Sue Kim is going to double up, and this time it's for a lot of chips, just over 1.4 million. And that is going to put her ahead of Jed into the second chip spot.
Sue's been the cat with 9 lives here. It's hard to eliminate her. Pretty sure that a lot of drinks are going to be had no matter what place she finishes in.
Definitely reason to celebrate. All 3 of these players have played a great game and going home with a good paycheck.
Joe has king 4 in the small blind against Jed's 12 big blind stack, so he effectively puts him all in. Jed quickly calls with ace queen.
So this time it will be Jed's tournament life on the line, and Jed will be going to the flop ahead, but Joe's got 2 live cards.
Joe has king 4 of spades. He's behind.
So Joe here hoping to get us to heads-up play against Soo Kim. Jed hoping he can get a little luck from Soo Kim and stay alive.
The flop is 4 deuce jack, so Joe has actually outflopped Jed here, pairing his 4. Jed's going to need an ace or a queen in order to survive, otherwise he'll become our 3rd place finisher.
The turn is the 8 of diamonds, so an ace or a queen is what Jed needs to find on the river. Otherwise, we will be heads up for the championship.
The river is the king of hearts. Not going to do it for Jed, and unfortunately for him, he's going to get a little bit unlucky here, become our 3rd place finisher, but he's going to get to go home with 31,000 in change. Both Sue and Joe are hometown favorites. I think the rail is going to be happy no matter who wins. We'll see who wins when we come back.
Thanks for coming back to the HPT. If you're just tuning in, you picked a perfect time. We are heads up for the championship between Sue and Joe. Let's get right back to the table.
Starting heads up play, both local favorites it seems. Joe Wen against Soo Kim. Joe has a 5.3 million to Sue's 1.3 million. So Sue's going to have an uphill battle if she wants to become our next HPT champion.
David versus Goliath. Joe with 67 big blinds, Soo Kim with just 16 big blinds. As we continue at 40 and 80,000 with a 10,000 chip ante. The Doyle Brunson hand is what Joe looks down at. 10 deuce. And in heads up play, the button is the small blind and first to act pre-flop.
And Sue has enough big blinds to have fold equity against Joe's opens, but if I were Joe, given the stack sizes, I would probably min-raise most of my hands and, you know, obviously fold to some of Sue's 3-bet shoves, but obviously there's going to be a situation where Joe's going to be able to call as well.
Sue looks down at a suited Jack 6 and makes the call for 100,000 to see a flop. A very engaged rail as everyone waits to see who our next HPT champion will be. The flop is 3-10 ace, all diamonds. So Joe is connected middle pair.
And he also has the 2 of diamonds in his hand. And, you know, it's interesting. Like I said, I think people have betting patterns. Sue was reaching for chips. I thought maybe she was going to lead in again to the pre-flop aggressor like we've seen her do. But she decides to check, and I'm sure a bet from Joe is just going to take this pot down.
Joe fires 230,000, and that should be enough to end this first heads up hand and move on to the next one, and it is. So Sue trying to get some traction early here heads up and maybe score a quick double up, get her closer to Joe's stack size.
I think Sue should expect that Joe's going to be opening a lot of hands, so I hope that Sue's 3-bet shoving range is going to be fairly wide to combat that.
It is Soo Kim's turn for the button, which has her in the small blind, as she looks down at King 10 offsuit. Maria, with her stack size, what do you think?
I would just open shove with that hand, and Joe actually ends up having her dominated with King Queen suited and quickly calls. I think if it was a little bit better like King Jack, I would raise, call it off. But, you know, King 10's probably just borderline shoving is unexploitable.
So both players doing what they should have done here with their cards. Unfortunately, it's got Soo Kim again, heavily dominated and behind going to the flop. But she's been here before, Maria.
She sure has. So actually, I think it's Joe who should be nervous.
The rail all hoping Sue can find a 10 on this flop.
The flop is ace, 7, queen, rainbow. So actually, Sue has a gut shot straight draw now. Jack would win her this pot, but Joe, for now, is still in the lead, pairing his queen.
Let's go ahead and see.
And the turn is a blank, the 4 of clubs. So Sue down to 4 outs. A jack and only a jack can save Sue Kim at this final table and keep her alive fighting for the championship.
We'll see if Sue's luck has run out here.
And it has, Maria. The 8 of hearts falls on the river, and that is going to make Joe win our newest HPT champion, as he is getting much deserved hugs and high fives from his buddies on the rail. Sue Kim also getting much deserved hugs and high fives from her rail birds. She should be very, very proud of the way she played. And she is standing by with our sideline reporter, James Larson, to get her thoughts on making it to heads up at her home casino.
Never in all my years, Sue, have I seen a rail this supportive and this loud. These guys were great.
Club Wizzy, I love them. I love you guys.
Now I gotta ask, did you see yourself, A, making the final table and finishing second? I mean, this is awesome for you.
Not at all. I'm surprised as anybody else. I'm very, very surprised. I had no plans coming in. I thought I was going to just get in and try my best. And I got really lucky. Obviously, you know, I was the shortest stack when, you know, David Williams busted out. And to make it to the final table, that alone was shocking in itself. But, you know, to be heads up with Joe and, you know, his friends were very nice.
And real quick, you know, you talk about coming back yesterday and getting to the final table, but today you doubled up 4 times, and 3 out of those 4, the cards came on the river.
Right. They call me luck bag. What can I say?
So you're going home with just under 47,000. I have a feeling, I have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to do a little celebrating tonight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Half of it is going to, you know where.
Right, exactly.
The bar.
To the bar tab. All right. A second place finisher. I consider her a good friend. Give it up, everybody, for Sue Kim. Freddie and Maria, we'll send it back over to you guys.
Thank you, James, and congratulations again to Sue Kim. What a fun run she had. She had a blast at this final table. Our newest champion is Joe Wynn, and this guy deserves it. He had a swingy day for sure. He's standing by with James Larson to find out what it's like to be the newest HPT champion.
All right, thank you, Freddie and Maria. We are now joined with our new HPT champion. Give it up, everybody, for Joe Wynn. First question, what a crazy final table. Both rails going nuts. What's going through your mind right now?
I don't know, it feels like a dream. But, yeah, just, can I say hi to my family at home? They're watching?
Oh, yeah, say hello.
Say hi to my wife, kids, family, friends, everybody watching. We did it. We did it.
Down there, and before we go any further, I want to bring Kyle Kirkland in. Again, a crazy final table, and it was just a lot of fun.
No, well, this is pretty standard for Club One Casino. You come down here for a poker tournament, you're going to get a pretty good rail like that. So I'm glad Joe won. He had a good group of guys in here, too. But, you know, let's do it again in September.
With just over 75,000. What does this mean to you to take down this event in Fresno here, be our champion, and yeah, that cash is yours? How does it feel?
It feels good. It's my first HPT title. We were, you know, been playing a lot of tournaments lately, and this is my first actual major title, so I'm happy.
I want to shake your hand one more time. I don't think I'm buying the drinks tonight. I think somebody else is. Congratulations to Joe, our new HPT champion. We'll send it back to Freddie and Maria.
Thanks again, James, and congratulations again to Joe on becoming our newest HPT champion. Now, Maria, we saw the chips swing back and forth all night long. How did Joe pull this out?
Joe wasn't afraid to play, and he wasn't afraid to get in there against these people that were just as aggressive as him, if not more aggressive. So it's definitely well-deserved.
Indeed. Now, do you think you have what it takes to be the next Joe Wynn or any of our HPT champions? We'll log on to hptpoker.com and find an event near you. For James Larson and Maria Ho, I'm Fred Bevel. We'll see you next time right here on the HPT. It's been an honor traveling with this poker circus for almost a decade now, and we've made a lot of friends along the way.
Congratulations to everybody involved on the HPT for your 10th season. It's an amazing accomplishment, and I think you're going to be going for quite a few more years after this. I think.
Congratulations, HPT, on your 10-year anniversary.
This is Dan O'Brien from Long Island, New York, wishing a happy 10th anniversary to the HPT.